The mountain doesn't forgive. It doesn't compromise. At 8,500 feet, the Hindu Kush range sits like a broken jaw against the Afghan sky, all teeth and bone in frozen malice. The ridge is a knife edge of stone and ice, barely wide enough for a body to lie flat, and that's exactly what she's doing. Lyra Kane is 24 years old. She hasn't slept in 68 hours. Her lips are cracked and bleeding. Her hands shake from cold and exhaustion. Ice crystals have formed in her hair. Through the scope of her M110 rifle, the world is reduced to a circle of magnified reality, a window into hell 1,300 meters below. The radio crackles, static, then a voice, strained and desperate. Phantom Overwatch, this is Viper 6. We are combat ineffective, surrounded. Estimate 200 plus Taliban, 3 wounded. We need immediate extraction. The voice belongs to a man she's never met, a Navy SEAL lieutenant commander named Jackson, 38 years old, father of 2. Right now, he's huddled in a rocky depression in the valley floor with 11 other men, and they're about to die. Lyra's voice is barely a whisper, calm as still water. Viper 6, this is Phantom. I have eyes on. Count your personnel. There's a pause, confusion in his reply. Phantom, who the hell are you? We have 12 souls, 3 wounded, surrounded by hostiles preparing to overrun our position. She doesn't let him finish. Her finger is already on the trigger. She's been watching the Taliban commander for the last 30 seconds. He's gesturing, organizing, preparing to send his fighters in for the kill. Range, 1,100 meters. Wind, gusting crosswind, 18 miles per hour. Temperature, -2 degrees Celsius. Barometric pressure falling. She does the math in 2 seconds. Breath in, breath out. Natural respiratory pause. The rifle cracks, sharp, precise. A sound that echoes off the mountain walls and disappears into the vast indifference of the sky. 1,300 meters away, the Taliban commander drops like a puppet with cut strings. Headshot, clean. The radio erupts. Contact! Sniper! Where the hell did that come from? Phantom, was that you? Where are you? Lyra's voice doesn't change, still calm, still quiet. Viper 6, you have 11 fighters remaining in the immediate threat zone. Stay low, keep quiet, I'll handle this. She doesn't wait for a response. She's already acquired the next target, another leader trying to rally the scattered fighters. Range, 1,200 meters. Wind shifting, mirage dancing in the scope. Second shot, second kill. The Taliban are shouting now, spinning in circles, searching for a threat they cannot see. Their enemy is invisible, a ghost on the mountain, the voice of God. For the next 72 hours, Lyra Kane will not sleep. She will not eat. She will drink the last of her water on hour 40 and spend the remaining 32 hours in stages of dehydration that will later require IV fluids and hospitalization. She will fire 37 rounds and score 37 hits. She will hold off more than 200 enemy fighters with nothing but a rifle, a scope, and a will that refuses to break. When the extraction helicopters finally arrive and pull the 12 SEALs out of that valley, all 12 will be alive. Wounded, traumatized, but breathing. One of them, a chief petty officer with gray eyes and a face like weathered granite, will look up at the ridge from the door of the Chinook. He'll see a tiny silhouette against the dawn sky, a figure collapsing from exhaustion, and he'll raise his hand in a slow, deliberate salute toward the mountain. Her name will not appear in any official report. The mission will be classified. The 12 men she saved will spend the next 6 years trying to find out who she was. But right now, in this moment, as the scope reticle settles on a third target and her finger begins its slow press on the trigger, Lyra Kane whispers 4 words to herself. 4 words that will define her. 4 words that will haunt her. Not today. Not them. The rifle cracks again. Text appears on screen, white letters on black. 72 hours, 12 lives saved, one shooter. This is her story before anyone knew her name. The Mojave Desert is a furnace. It bakes the earth. It bleaches bones. At 107 degrees Fahrenheit, the air itself becomes a physical force, pressing down on everything, distorting vision, making the distant mountains shimmer and waver like a mirage. The range known as the Cauldron sits in the heart of the Fort Irwin National Training Center, a vast expanse of sun-scorched concrete and sun-blasted sand designed for one purpose: to separate the truly skilled from the merely competent. Today it hosts the annual Joint Special Operations Command Precision Rifle Symposium. Nearly 200 of the military's finest marksmen have gathered here. Rangers, Green Berets, Marine Raiders, Navy SEALs, the best of the best. Their rifles gleam in the brutal sunlight. Custom-built instruments that cost more than most people's cars. Barrett M82 A150 caliber rifles, $12,000 each. Accuracy International AXMC rifles in .338 Lapua Magnum, $9,000. Remington MSR rifles with Schmidt and Bender optics, $15,000. Carbon fiber stocks, match-grade barrels, titanium actions. These are not weapons. These are works of art. Mechanical poetry. The men who carry them have the swagger to match. Combat patches on their uniforms. Deployment beards. The easy confidence of warriors who have seen the worst the world has to offer and walked away. And then there's Lyra Kane. She arrives in a 2015 Ford F-150, paint faded by too many desert suns, driving alone. She parks at the far end of the lot, away from the cluster of expensive trucks and tactical SUVs. When she steps out, she's wearing a standard Army combat uniform, clean but showing wear. No combat patches, no decorations, no badges of honor. The name tape on her chest reads Kane, the rank on her collar, Sergeant, 3 stripes. She opens the truck bed and pulls out a soft rifle case. Not a hard case, not a tactical Pelican case with foam inserts. Just a simple padded bag, the kind you can buy at any sporting goods store for $40. From 50 feet away, a group of Marine Raiders watches her. One of them, a staff sergeant with a fresh, high and tight haircut, nudges his buddy. Check it out, Army Marksmanship Unit. His buddy glances over, sees Lyra, sees the soft case, loses interest immediately. Support role, probably here for admin or something. They turn back to their rifles, their conversation, their world. Lyra doesn't exist to them. She's scenery, background noise. She doesn't notice. Or if she does, she doesn't care. She walks to firing position 23, sets down her gear, and unzips the case. The rifle that emerges is an M110 semi-automatic sniper system. 7.62 millimeter NATO, standard issue. It's a capable weapon, respected in the right hands. But here, in this company, surrounded by custom-built marvels of engineering, it looks like exactly what it is: basic, functional, ordinary. Lyra pulls a small cleaning cloth from her pocket and begins wiping down the bolt. Her movements are slow, methodical. Each motion flows into the next with the kind of practiced economy that comes from 10,000 repetitions. She's not thinking about it. Her hands know the ritual. Oil the bolt, check the extractor, inspect the firing pin. 30 feet away, Master Sergeant Dalton Reeve is holding court. Dalton is 39 years old, 6 feet 2 inches of Marine Corps muscle and swagger. He has a voice that carries, a laugh that booms, a presence that demands attention. His rifle, resting on a custom shooting mat, is a work of art. A precision-built masterpiece chambered in .338 Lapua Magnum. The stock is carbon fiber. The barrel is stainless steel, hand-lapped and cryogenically treated. The scope is a Schmidt & Bender 5 to 25 power with a price tag that could buy a used car. He's surrounded by a small audience, other shooters, Marines mostly, but a few Army Rangers, a couple of Green Berets. They're laughing at something he said. Dalton has that gift, the ability to command a room, or in this case, a firing line. He glances over at Lyra, sees her kneeling by her gear, sees the M110, sees the soft case. His eyes light up with opportunity. "Hey fellas," he says, loud enough to carry. "Y'all see that?" The group turns, follows his gaze. "Army brought a museum piece." The laughter starts, not cruel, not yet. Just the easy mockery of men who know they're on top of the hierarchy. Lyra doesn't look up. She inserts a magazine into the rifle's well. The click is crisp, precise, a small sound of mechanical perfection. She continues her work. Dalton takes 3 steps toward her. His audience follows. Now there are 8 men standing around, and Lyra is the center of attention, whether she wants it or not. "That little thing," Dalton says, his Texas accent thick and syrupy. "Sweetheart, you'd be better off throwing rocks." The laughter is louder now. A couple of the men exchange glances. One shifts uncomfortably, but doesn't say anything. The group dynamic has momentum. Nobody wants to be the one to break it. For the first time, Lyra's hands pause, just for half a second. Her fingers stop moving on the rifle. Then they resume, steady, deliberate. She still doesn't look at him. The lack of reaction frustrates Dalton. He's used to getting a response, anger, embarrassment, something. The silence is an insult. "I'm serious, darling," he says, louder now. "That pea shooter might work on a flat range in perfect conditions. But out here, in the real world, you're outgunned before you even start." More laughter. One of the Rangers shakes his head, grinning. A Green Beret crosses his arms, watching, waiting to see how this plays out. Lyra sets down the rifle. She picks up a small torque wrench, the kind used for precision work. She begins checking the scope rings. Her expression is neutral, not angry, not embarrassed, not intimidated, just focused. It's the face of someone completely absorbed in a task. The outside world, with all its noise and pettiness, simply does not exist. 400 yards away in the observation tower, General Thaddeus Blackwood lowers his binoculars. He's 59 years old, 4 stars on his collar, commander of the Joint Special Operations Command. His face is weathered, lined with the kind of creases that come from decades of hard decisions and harder consequences. His hair is silver gray, cut military short. His posture is ramrod straight even when he's alone. He's been watching Lyra since she arrived. He watched her park away from the crowd, watched her pull out that soft rifle case, watched her kneel down and begin her ritual with the kind of quiet professionalism that most of these operators will never understand. And now he's watching Dalton Reeve make a fool of himself. Blackwood's jaw tightens. His knuckles go white on the binocular housing. For just a moment, a memory flashes. 15 years ago, a recruitment event in a high school gymnasium in rural Virginia. A teenage girl with fire in her eyes, asking him if the Army would let her shoot. Really shoot, not just qualify. He'd looked at her and seen something. Hunger, discipline, potential. He'd told her, "You'll go far, kid, if you're willing to work for it." She'd worked for it. Blackwood raises the binoculars again, watches Lyra ignore the mockery, watches her continue her preparation with the same meticulous care, as if Dalton Reeve and his audience are nothing more than background noise. A small smile crosses Blackwood's face. Not amusement, recognition. He's seen that look before, that absolute focus, that refusal to be distracted by anything external. He's seen it on the faces of operators in the worst situations imaginable. The kind of focus that comes when the world is ending and the only thing holding back the chaos is will. Lyra Kane has that will. She's had it since she was 15 years old. Down on the firing line, Dalton is walking away, satisfied. His audience disperses. The show is over. They return to their rifles, their gear, their conversations. Lyra is forgotten. She continues her work. She ties a small piece of frayed olive drab yarn to the end of her rifle barrel. 8 inches long, faded, ancient. The kind of improvised wind indicator that hasn't been used in decades, not since the invention of electronic wind meters. 10 positions down, at firing position 13, Chief Petty Officer Gideon Hale watches. Gideon is 36 years old, Navy SEAL, Team 5. His face is all angles and edges, carved from hard deployments and harder memories. His hair is salt and pepper, cut short. His eyes are gray, pale gray, the color of storm clouds over the ocean. He's been watching Lyra since she arrived, not openly, just peripheral observation. The way a predator watches another predator, respectful, cautious, curious. He sees the yarn on her barrel and something clicks in his memory. He's seen that before. Not recently, years ago, but where? He watches the way she tests the yarn, the way it flutters in the slight breeze, the way she reads it, interpreting the movement like reading a language. He watches her pull out a small, spiral-bound notebook, opens it, pages and pages of handwritten data, wind patterns, mirage behavior, elevation corrections, temperature coefficients, ballistic data accumulated over years, maybe a decade. He watches her posture, the way her shoulders sit, perfectly square, relaxed but ready, zero tension. The mark of someone who has spent so many hours behind a rifle that the position is as natural as breathing. Gideon sets down his coffee, slowly. His full attention is on her now. He recognizes something, not her, he's never met her, but he recognizes the language she's speaking, the silent language of true mastery. It's the same language he speaks, the same language that all real professionals speak, regardless of service or unit or rank. She's not a support role admin. She's not here to observe. She's a shooter, a real shooter. And that rifle, that standard issue M110 that Dalton mocked, is about to teach a lot of very confident men a very hard lesson. Gideon leans back, crosses his arms, and waits. The public address system crackles to life. The voice of the range master, a grizzled Army Sergeant Major with 30 years of experience, echoes across the cauldron. All shooters, listen up. We are green for the final event, the Serpent's Tooth. Report to the firing line for briefing in 5 minutes. I say again, 5 minutes. A ripple goes through the assembled shooters. Conversations pause. Men straighten. The Serpent's Tooth is the reason most of them are here. It's the final test, the impossible challenge, the one that separates legends from everyone else. Lyra closes her notebook, slides it back into her pack. She stands, stretches briefly, and walks toward the gathering crowd at the center of the range. Dalton is already there, front and center, rifle in hand. His audience has reformed around him. They're talking about the challenge, running calculations, arguing about wind calls and elevation holds. Confident, loud. Lyra stops at the edge of the crowd, doesn't push forward, just stands, listens. The range master steps up onto a small platform. He's holding a clipboard. His face is sunburned, deeply lined. He looks like he was carved from the same rock as the mountains behind him. All right, listen close. I'm only saying this once. The crowd quiets. The Serpent's Tooth consists of 7 targets, ranges from 800 meters to 2,000 meters. You'll engage them in sequence. You have a 10-minute time window from your first shot. Wind in the valley is variable, 6 to 18 miles per hour. Direction changes with the thermals. If you can't handle that, withdraw now. No shame. He pauses, looks around. 8 shooters immediately step back. Their rifles can't reach 2,000 meters. They know it. Better to withdraw with dignity than fail publicly. Targets 1 through 6 are standard, steel plates, 12 inches to 18 inches, partially obscured by terrain. You'll need to read the mirage. Wind is your enemy. Another pause. He looks at his clipboard. Target 7, 2,000 meters. That's 2,187 yards, 1.24 miles. The target is a 12-inch steel plate, white painted. At that range, with this wind, most of your rifles are at the absolute edge of their capability. Some are beyond it. Bullet drop will be in the neighborhood of 600 inches. That's 50 feet. Wind drift could be 20 inches or more. Mirage will lie to you. Thermals will betray you. The crowd is dead silent now. Everyone is doing the math in their heads. Everyone is checking their dope cards, their ballistic calculators. This is not a shoot for score, the range master continues. This is a test of capability, of discipline, of whether you can make the impossible shot when it matters. Questions? Nobody speaks. Good. Sign-up sheet is on the table. We'll run shooters in order. First shooter in 10 minutes. He steps down. The crowd surges toward the table. Dalton is first. Of course he's first. He picks up the pen and signs his name with a flourish. Big, bold letters. Major General Dalton Reeve, USMC. He sets down the pen and turns to his audience, grinning. That's why you bring a real cannon to a gunfight, boys. Laughter, backslaps, confidence. And then, through the crowd, Lyra Kane steps forward. She doesn't push, doesn't shove, just waits patiently for a gap, then moves through it. She picks up the pen. The laughter dies. Every eye is on her. She writes in small, precise handwriting. SGTL Kane, USA. Sets down the pen, turns, walks back to position 23. For 3 full seconds, nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Then Dalton laughs. But it's different now. There's an edge to it. Uncertainty. Well, bless her heart, he says loud enough for everyone to hear. At least she's got spirit. A few of the men chuckle, nervous, unsure. But Gideon Hale, standing at the back of the crowd, is not laughing. He's watching Lyra walk away, watching the set of her shoulders, the calm in her stride. And he's remembering something from 6 years ago. A voice on a radio in the darkest moment of his life. Calm, steady, fearless. Stay low, keep quiet, I'll handle this. No, it can't be, can it? Gideon's eyes narrow. He looks at Lyra, really looks at her. The way she moves, the way she breathes, the way she exists in her own space, untouched by the noise around her. And for the first time in 6 years, a question forms in his mind. Could she be Phantom? 10 minutes later, the crowd has formed a semicircle around the firing line. Dalton Reeve is in position, prone, rifle deployed on its bipod. His spotter, a fellow Marine with a high-powered spotting scope, is beside him. The range master's voice. Shooter ready? Ready, Dalton calls back. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Commence firing. Dalton's first target is at 800 meters, an 18-inch steel plate partially hidden behind a berm. He finds it in his scope, dials the elevation, checks the wind. His spotter. Wind right to left, 8 miles per hour, hold right edge. Dalton breathes. In, out, squeeze. Boom! The rifle's report is enormous. A massive concussive blast that echoes off the mountains. The recoil pushes his whole body back. Downrange, the electronic scoring system pings. Target 1, hit. The crowd murmurs approval. Dalton works the bolt. Smooth. Fast. He's good. Nobody can deny that. Target 2, 1,000 meters. He finds it, adjusts. Boom. Ping. Target 2, hit. He's moving fast now, confident. The rifle is an extension of him. He flows through targets 3, 4, 5, 6. Each shot is a demonstration of skill. Each hit is confirmation of his place at the top of the hierarchy. Time remaining, 3 minutes, 12 seconds. Now comes target 7, 2,000 meters, the impossible shot. Dalton settles into his position. His breathing slows. His spotter is on the spotting scope, reading the wind with a Kestrel electronic wind meter. Wind variable, 11 miles per hour, quartering right. Wait, gust from the valley, 16 miles per hour. No, shifting again, back to 12. The wind is chaos, a living thing, unpredictable. Dalton dials in his elevation, 58 minutes of angle. He holds for wind, 4 minutes right, breath in, breath out, hold, squeeze, boom. The sound is apocalyptic. The rifle bucks. The muzzle blast kicks up dust in a 20-foot radius. Downrange, far across the valley, a plume of dust erupts, 3 feet to the left of the target. Miss. Dalton curses, loud, reloads, fast. His spotter, wind changed mid-flight, now left to right, 12 miles per hour. Dalton adjusts, dials left, holds. Boom! Another miss, this time high, 2 feet above and 1 foot right. God damn it! The timer beeps. 10 minutes. Time's up. Dalton stands. His face is flushed, frustration etched into every line. But he masks it quickly, shrugs, turns to the crowd with a grin that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Wind's a bitch today, fellas. 2,000 meters in these conditions? That's a lottery ticket. The crowd nods, sympathetic, understanding. It's the wind, always the wind. Nobody can fight the wind. Dalton walks off the line. Score, 6 out of 7 targets. Respectable. Expected. The range master calls, "Next shooter, Sergeant Kane, you're up." The crowd shifts, rearranges. Nobody's leaving. They want to see this. Not because they expect success, but because failure is always interesting. Lyra walks to the firing line. No hurry, no hesitation. She kneels, sets down her pack, pulls out her rifle. She lies down behind the M110. Her body melts into the position. Not forced, not strained, just settles, like water finding its level. She closes her eyes for 3 seconds, centers herself. When she opens them, the world has changed. Everything external falls away. There's only the rifle, the targets, the wind. The range master. "Shooter ready." Lyra's voice is quiet, calm. "Ready. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Commence firing." Target 1, 800 meters. Lyra's breathing is slow, rhythmic. 8 seconds in, 8 seconds out. Through the scope, she watches the mirage, watches the heat waves dance across the valley floor, waits for the pattern to stabilize. There, her finger begins its slow press on the trigger. Not a pull, not a jerk. A gradual increase of pressure until the shot breaks. Crack, not a boom, a crack, sharp, precise. Ping. Target 1, hit. She doesn't pause. The M110 is semi-automatic. She doesn't need to work a bolt. Just reacquire. Find the next target. Target 2, 1,000 meters. The yarn on her barrel flutters. Right to left wind, 6 miles per hour. She holds left. Crack. Ping. Target 2, hit. The crowd is quiet now, watching. Target 3, 1,200 meters. Crack. Ping. Target 4, 1,400 meters. Crack. Ping. She's moving faster than Dalton did. The semi-automatic rifle gives her an advantage. No bolt manipulation. No break in her rhythm. Target 5, 1,550 meters. Crack. Ping. Target 6, 1,600 meters. Crack. Ping. 6 for 6. Flawless. Time remaining, 4 minutes, 8 seconds. And now, target 7, 2,000 meters, 1.24 miles. The crowd holds its breath. Lyra studies the target through her scope. The white plate is a tiny speck, barely visible, wavering in the heat mirage like a ghost. She does the math. Bullet drop was 7.62 NATO at this range, over 700 inches. Wind drift, unpredictable. The round will go transonic around 1,800 meters. It will lose stability, start to tumble. This rifle cannot make this shot. The physics don't allow it. She knows this. She fires anyway. Crack. Downrange, far across the valley, dust kicks up. 6 feet to the right of the target. A ranging shot. Deliberate, intentional, not a miss. An information-gathering exercise. She cranks her scope turret. 30 minutes of angle left. The clicks are audible in the silence. Crack. Closer. 4 feet left now, but still short. 2 feet low. The crowd begins to murmur. Sympathetic. She's trying. It's admirable, but futile. Time remaining, 58 seconds. Lyra lies behind the rifle. Perfectly still. She can feel her heartbeat, can feel the pulse in her fingertips, can feel the earth rotating beneath her. She knows she cannot make this shot with this rifle. She knows it. And yet, there's a sound. Footsteps on concrete, heavy boots, walking toward her. The crowd parts. Gideon Hale steps through. In his hands, he carries his rifle, an M110 SAS Enhanced, the upgraded version, bigger, more powerful. Chambered in .300 Winchester Magnum instead of 7.62 NATO, capable of reaching distances that Lyra's rifle can only dream of. He walks to position 23, kneels beside Lyra. The crowd is frozen. What is he doing? Gideon sets his rifle down on Lyra's mat, deploys the bipod. The weapon sits there, offered, a gift. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a single brass cartridge, hand-loaded, match-grade, the best ammunition money and skill can produce. He places it beside the rifle, and then he speaks. His voice is low, gravelly, respectful. Use this, Sergeant Major. The crowd gasps. Sergeant Major? She's wearing sergeant stripes, 3 chevrons, not the complex insignia of a sergeant major, not the rank that commands battalions and advises colonels. What did he just say? Dalton Reeves' face goes pale. Confusion spreads through the assembled shooters like wildfire. Lyra looks up at Gideon. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, a memory surfaces. 6 years old, hidden in classified files. A voice on a radio in the darkest night. Stay low, keep quiet, I'll handle this. Gideon's eyes are wet, not crying, but close. I've been looking for you for 6 years, he says quietly. Phantom. Lyra's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in her eyes. Recognition, acknowledgement. She gives one small nod. Gideon stands, steps back, crosses his arms, and waits. The crowd is in chaos now. Whispers, questions, confusion. But General Thaddeus Blackwood, 400 yards away in the observation tower, is smiling. Finally they're going to understand. The world narrows to a single point of focus. Lyra Kane's hands move to the M110 SAS Enhanced. Not her rifle, Gideon Hale's rifle. A weapon she's never touched before. Yet her fingers find the bolt, the safety, the trigger guard as if they've known this rifle for 1,000 years. Muscle memory transcends the specific tool. A master pianist can play any piano. A master surgeon can use any scalpel. A master sniper can shoot any rifle. She chambers the single brass cartridge. The bolt slides forward with a metallic click that seems to echo across the entire range, despite being barely louder than a whisper. The sound of finality, of commitment, of a decision made. Time remaining, 42 seconds. The crowd has gone silent. Not the silence of anticipation, the silence of shock, of cognitive dissonance. Sergeant Major. Gideon called her Sergeant Major. But she's wearing sergeant stripes, 3 chevrons. The math doesn't add up. The hierarchy doesn't make sense. Dalton Reeves stands at the back of the crowd, arms crossed, face a mask of confusion giving way to something else. concern, the first whispers of doubt. Lyra settles her cheek against the stock of the SASS. The polymer is warm from the sun. The rifle is heavier than her M110. Different balance, different feel, but the fundamentals remain the same. Physics doesn't care which rifle you're using. Gravity pulls the same. Wind pushes the same. The earth spins the same. Through the scope, the target reappears, 2,000 meters distant. A 12-inch white circle against tan earth. It wavers in the heat mirage like a reflection on disturbed water. Her breathing slows, deepens. 8 seconds in, hold. 8 seconds out, hold. The rhythm of a resting heartbeat. The rhythm of absolute calm. The yarn on her barrel flutters. She watches it with peripheral vision, reads it like a language. Right to left, 12 miles per hour. No, shifting. Now left to right, 14. No, gusting, back to 10. The wind is alive, chaotic, unpredictable. Most shooters would wait for it to stabilize, wait for a lull, a pocket of calm. Lyra doesn't wait. She reads the chaos, finds the pattern within it. The wind isn't random, it follows rules. Thermals rising from the valley floor, air currents channeled by the mountain walls. It's a dance, complex, but learnable. She's been learning it for 6 years. Her internal voice, calm and methodical, runs the calculations. 300 Winchester Magnum, muzzle velocity 2,900 feet per second, ballistic coefficient of the hand-loaded match-grade bullet 0.715, range 2,000 meters, elevation 58 minutes of angle, bullet drop 640 inches, 53 feet. Wind drift at this distance with current conditions, 18 inches right, no. Thermal rising from valley floor will push left, compensate. Net drift, 12 inches right. Coriolis effect, northern hemisphere, shooting east, 2 minutes of angle right. Spin drift, always right with right-hand twist barrel, 1.5 minutes. Temperature, 107 degrees. Air density, low. Bullet will fly faster, flatter. Adjust elevation down 0.5 minutes. All of this happens in 3 seconds. Not conscious thought. Instinct honed by 10,000 hours behind a scope. Her hand moves to the elevation turret. Clicks. Precise adjustments. The crosshairs shift in the scope. Time remaining, 35 seconds. She finds her natural respiratory pause. That moment between breaths where the body is perfectly still, where the heartbeat quiets, where the rifle, the shooter, and the earth become one unified system. Her finger begins its press on the trigger. Slow, gradual, constant pressure. She doesn't know when the shot will break. That's the point. If she knows, she'll flinch. Anticipate. The subconscious will betray her. The trigger is a surprise, even to her. The rifle fires. The sound is different from the M110. Sharper, more authoritative. The recoil is heavier. A firm shove against her shoulder, but she rides it. Doesn't fight it, becomes part of it. Through the scope, she watches. For 3.2 seconds, the world holds its breath. The bullet leaves the barrel at 2,900 feet per second. It climbs, arcs, reaches its apex 85 feet above the line of sight, begins to descend. The copper-jacketed projectile is spinning at 180,000 revolutions per minute, a tiny gyroscope fighting to maintain stability. At 1,800 meters, it goes transonic, breaks the sound barrier in reverse. The shock wave causes it to wobble, destabilize. For a fraction of a second, it's a coin spinning in the air, ready to tumble. But the hand-loaded bullet is perfectly balanced. The rifling was perfect. The launch was perfect. It holds. The wind catches it, pushes right. Then a thermal from the valley floor pushes left. The forces cancel. The bullet continues on its path. 2,000 meters downrange, the white steel plate waits. Lyra watches through the scope. Doesn't blink. Doesn't breathe. The bullet is a tiny dark speck visible only because she knows exactly where to look. It descends, converges, arrives. The sound comes 3.2 seconds after the shot, a distant metallic clang that rolls across the valley like thunder. Clear, unmistakable, final. The electronic scoring system, designed with a slight delay to account for the speed of sound at this distance, announces in its synthesized female voice, Target 7, hit, center mass, time elapsed, 9 minutes, 58 seconds. Silence. Not the silence of anticipation, not the silence of shock, the silence of disbelief, the silence of 100 assumptions shattering simultaneously. For 4 full seconds, nobody moves, nobody speaks, nobody even breathes. Dalton Reeves' mouth is open, literally hanging open. His face has gone pale beneath his sunburn. His eyes are wide, uncomprehending. The impossible just happened. The laws of physics just bent. The hierarchy of the world just inverted. Around him, other shooters are frozen in similar states of disbelief. A green beret has removed his hat and is staring at it as if it might provide an explanation. A ranger has both hands on top of his head, eyes closed, shaking his head slowly. A Marine is laughing, not joy, shock manifesting as sound. Gideon Hale stands with his arms crossed, a tight smile on his weathered face. His eyes are wet, not crying, but close. After 6 years of searching, of wondering, of trying to find the woman who saved his life, he's finally found her. And she just proved, in front of 200 of the military's best shooters, exactly who and what she is. In the observation tower, General Thaddeus Blackwood sets down his binoculars. He closes his eyes, exhales a breath he's been holding for 6 years, maybe longer, since the day he met a 15-year-old girl with fire in her eyes and told her she could go far if she worked for it. She worked for it, and now the world is about to learn what that work produced. Blackwood stands, straightens his uniform, begins walking toward the stairs that will take him down to the firing line. On the range, the spell breaks. Someone in the crowd whispers, "Holy shit," someone else. "Did that just happen?" A ranger turns to the man next to him. "Tell me you saw that. Tell me I'm not hallucinating from the heat." "I saw it. 2,000 meters, one shot, cold bore on a rifle she's never fired before." "I saw it." The murmurs spread, grow, build into a wave of sound. Not applause, not cheers, just the sound of men trying to process something that doesn't fit into their understanding of reality. Lyra remains prone behind the rifle. She's already clearing it. Safe the weapon. Remove the magazine. Lock the bolt back. Check the chamber. The ritual of safety. Automatic. Ingrained. She sits up, looks at Gideon, extends the rifle toward him. Gideon shakes his head. "Keep it." "Chief, I can't." "You can. You will." His voice is firm, final. "That rifle just made history. It belongs with the shooter who fired it." Lyra hesitates, then nods, sets the rifle carefully on her mat. The crowd is starting to recover now, starting to react. A few men begin to clap, slow, uncertain, not sure if applause is appropriate or if they're witnessing something more solemn. But before the applause can build, before the crowd can fully process what just happened, a new sound cuts through the noise. Footsteps, heavy, purposeful, authority in every step. The crowd turns. General Thaddeus Blackwood is walking across the active firing line. Rangemasters move to intercept him. Protocol demands it. The range is hot. Targets are still active. A 4-star general has no business walking into a live-fire area. Blackwood raises one hand, a gesture of absolute command. No words necessary. The rangemasters stop, step back. Every eye on the range follows the general. 200 shooters, 20 range staff, all watching. Blackwood walks past Gideon Hale first. Stops. Their eyes meet. Blackwood gives a single, slow nod of approval. "Well done, Chief Hale." Gideon's voice is rough, thick. Just gave her the right tools, sir. She did the impossible part. Indeed she did. Blackwood continues walking. His path takes him directly past Dalton Reeve. He stops, looks at the Marine Master Sergeant, doesn't speak. The silence between them is heavier than words. Blackwood's eyes hold disappointment, not anger, disappointment. The kind a father shows a son who should have known better. The kind that cuts deeper than any reprimand. Dalton can't meet his gaze, looks down. His face flushes, shame mixing with confusion. Blackwood holds the look for 5 seconds, then continues walking. He stops in front of Lyra Kane. She's starting to rise, coming to attention. Proper military protocol when a general officer approaches. Blackwood raises his hand. As you were, Sergeant Major. The words hit the crowd like a physical force. Sergeant Major. There it is again. From a 4-star general. Not a mistake, not a slip of the tongue. Deliberate, intentional. Lyra settles back, kneeling, waiting. Blackwood doesn't speak to her. Not yet. Instead, he turns to face the assembled crowd. All 200+ men. The finest shooters in the United States military. Rangers, SEALs, Green Berets, Marine Raiders. Delta Force operators whose presence isn't officially acknowledged. The best of the best. His voice when he speaks isn't loud, doesn't need to be. It carries the weight of 4 decades of command, of hard decisions and harder consequences, of authority earned through blood and sacrifice. For the last 3 days, he begins, his voice like gravel rolling down a mountain. I have heard a lot of talk. Pause. Let it sink in. I have seen a lot of expensive rifles. Another pause. His eyes sweep the crowd. I have witnessed a lot of pride. The word hangs in the desert air, heavy, accusatory. Some of it earned. Pause. Most of it not. A few men shift uncomfortably. Nobody speaks. We come to these symposiums for a purpose. To test our skills. To push the limits of our craft. To learn from the best. Blackwood's voice hardens, goes cold. But we also come to learn humility. To understand that skill isn't measured in dollars spent or equipment carried. To remember that the most dangerous weapon on any battlefield isn't the rifle. He taps his temple. It's this, and what this commands. He gestures toward Lyra without looking at her. You see this sergeant. You see her standard issue rifle. You see her lack of expensive gear. You see her lack of fanfare. And you made assumptions. The word is sharp, cutting. You judge the book by its cover. Didn't even bother to read the first page. Blackwood's posture shifts, goes formal, parade ground straight. Let me read it for you. His voice rises, projects, every word precise. This is Sergeant Major Lyra Kane, United States Army, serial number classified. The crowd ripples. Shock spreading outward like a wave. Sergeant Major is in E9, the highest enlisted rank, a position of immense responsibility and respect. Command Sergeant Majors advise battalion and brigade commanders. They are the senior enlisted advisors, the voice of experience, the keepers of standards. And she's wearing sergeant stripes. Why? Blackwood continues. His voice is steel now. The long-range engagement doctrine that you all studied to qualify for the symposium, the manual you memorized, the formulas you calculated. Pause. Let them remember their studies. She didn't study them. Pause. She wrote them. Gasps. Audible gasps from the crowd. Field Manual 3-22-10, Chapter 7, High-Altitude Wind Correction Formulas, Thin Atmosphere Ballistic Compensation, Temperature Coefficient Adjustments. Blackwood's eyes are hard, unforgiving. Written by Sergeant Major Kane, based on field data collected during Operation Enduring Freedom. Validated through combat application, signed in blood and brass on a frozen mountain while saving the lives of 12 men. He pauses, lets the weight settle. 12 men you would all call heroes. The silence is absolute now. Not a sound, not a breath. Blackwood turns slightly, looks at Lyra. When he speaks again, his voice has changed. The steel is still there, but underneath it, something else. Respect, pride, almost paternal. Afghanistan, Korangal Valley, October 2018, 6 years ago. And with those words, he takes them back. Back to the mountain, back to the darkness, back to the moment when 12 men faced death, and one woman held it back with nothing but a rifle and an unbreakable will. A 12-man SEAL reconnaissance team was compromised, ambushed by over 200 Taliban fighters. 3 wounded, no cover, no extraction possible. Weather had closed in, no air support, no quick reaction force. They were alone, surrounded, combat ineffective. Blackwood's voice drops, quiet now, forcing the crowd to lean in, to listen. For 72 hours they were hunted. For 72 hours they held that position against impossible odds. Pause. They survived because of one sniper, one guardian angel on a ridge 1 mile away. For 3 days and 3 nights she held back an army, never sleeping, never eating, rationing water that ran out after 40 hours, firing in conditions that would make today's challenge look easy. He looks at Gideon. Every time the enemy massed for an assault, a shot would ring out from the heavens, and their leader would fall. Blackwood's voice rises again. The enemy called it the voice of God. They thought they were being hunted by a demon, by a curse. They broke, they fled, abandoned the siege. 200 fighters scattered by one shooter they never saw, never located, never engaged. He turns back to the crowd. That demon, that voice of God, points at Lyra, was a 24-year-old sergeant named Lyra Kane. The revelation lands like an artillery shell. Men step back, physically step back, as if the information has mass, weight, physical force. Blackwood isn't finished. The extraction team found her collapse from exhaustion and dehydration, hypothermic, frostbite on her fingers. She'd been firing for so long in such cold that she damaged the nerve endings in her trigger finger. She spent 2 weeks in a field hospital. His voice goes quiet again, reverent. The 12 men she saved went home to their families, went home to their children, went home to their lives. He looks at Gideon. Chief Petty Officer Gideon Hale was one of those 12. Every head turns to Gideon. He stands straight, doesn't hide. Tears are running openly down his face now. He doesn't wipe them. He spent 6 years searching for the woman who saved his life, trying to find Phantom Overwatch, trying to say thank you. Blackwood's voice cracks, just slightly, just enough to show he's human. Today, he found her. Gideon steps forward, comes to attention, renders a slow, perfect salute toward Lyra. Lyra, still kneeling, returns it. The moment hangs, frozen, sacred. Then Blackwood does something that will be remembered for the rest of these men's lives. He comes to attention, perfect posture, shoulders back, chin level, eyes forward, and a 4-star general, commander of Joint Special Operations Command, renders a slow, crisp, heartbreakingly respectful salute to a non-commissioned officer kneeling on the ground. Sergeant Major Lyra Kane, his voice thick with emotion. It is the highest honor of my career to share this range with you. Lyra looks up, meets his eyes, and for the first time, emotion breaks through her calm exterior. Her eyes glisten, not tears, but close. She returns the salute. Her hand trembles, just slightly. They hold the salute, General and Sergeant, 4 stars and 3 chevrons, separated by rank, united by respect. 5 seconds, an eternity. Then Blackwood drops his salute. Lyra drops hers. And the crowd erupts. Not polite applause, not golf clap respect. A roar, a wave of sound, shouting, whistling, Grown men, hardened warriors, cheering like children at a championship game. Standing ovation. Every single shooter on their feet, clapping until their hands hurt. Some have tears running down their faces. Some are laughing. Some are just shaking their heads in wonder. Dalton Reeve stands at the back, not clapping, not moving. His world has been inverted. Everything he thought he knew about hierarchy, about status, about what makes a warrior great, has just been shattered. He looks at his expensive rifle, his custom gear, his pride, and he feels small. Blackwood turns back to the crowd, raises one hand. The applause dies. Instantly, that's the power of command. Gentlemen, he says, today you received a master class, not in shooting, in humility, in respect, in understanding that true excellence doesn't announce itself, it demonstrates itself. He looks around, making eye contact, ensuring every man feels the weight of his words. I suggest you learn from it. He turns, walks back toward the observation tower. The crowd parts for him. Silent, respectful. As he passes Dalton, he doesn't look at him, doesn't acknowledge him. The absence of attention is worse than any rebuke. The crowd begins to disperse. Slowly, men move in clusters, talking in low voices, processing, trying to fit this new information into their understanding of the world. Gideon approaches Lyra. She's standing now, packing her gear with the same methodical care she showed at the beginning. "Ma'am," he says. His voice is rough, raw. "I've wanted to thank you for 6 years. Lyra doesn't look up, continues packing. "You already did, Chief. You gave me your rifle. That rifle is yours now, I insist." She looks at him, really looks at him, studies his face, the scars, the gray hair, the lines of hard years. "Viper 6, she says quietly. "You made it home. All 12 of us did, because of you. You held the position. I just bought you time." Gideon shakes his head. "You did more than that. You gave us hope. When we thought we were done, when we thought it was over, your voice on that radio telling us to stay quiet, to stay low, that you had us covered. That hope kept us alive." Lyra is quiet for a moment. Then, "If you ever need anything, Chief, anything, you call me." "I was about to say the same thing, ma'am." They shake hands. The grip is firm, respectful. Warriors recognizing warriors. As Gideon walks away, Dalton Reeve approaches, slowly, hesitantly. Lyra sees him coming, continues packing. Dalton stops 3 feet away, opens his mouth, closes it, tries again. "Sergeant Major, I..." His voice cracks, fails. Lyra straightens, turns to face him. Her expression is neutral, not angry, not forgiving, just calm. "I was an arrogant asshole," Dalton manages. "I couldn't see past my own ego." Lyra studies him. Then, "You saw what you expected to see. Most people do." She extends her hand. "You're a damn good shooter, Reeve. You just forgot that gear doesn't make the warrior. The warrior makes the gear matter." Dalton takes her hand, grips it, hard. "Yes, ma'am. I won't forget again." "Good." Lyra's voice is firm, but not unkind. "Now go teach someone else that lesson." Dalton nods, steps back, walks away a different man than he was an hour ago. The range is clearing now. The symposium is over. Shooters are packing their equipment, loading their trucks. The sun is beginning its descent toward the western mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Lyra finishes packing her gear. The M110 SAS goes into a hard case now, Gideon's parting gift, or perhaps payment of a debt that can never truly be repaid. As she walks toward her truck, General Blackwood appears beside her, walking in step, hands clasped behind his back. "You could have revealed yourself at any time," he says quietly. "Wasn't about me, sir. Never was. That's exactly why you're the best soldier I've ever known." Lyra glances at him. "I'm just someone who does her job, General." "No," Blackwood stops walking, turns to face her. You're the standard, the example, the proof that excellence doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to exist. They stand there for a moment, general and sergeant major, mentor and student, old friends. Take care of yourself, Lyra. You too, sir. She continues to her truck, loads her gear, drives away. Behind her, the legend is already beginning to spread. 6 months pass like water through stone, slowly, invisibly, but leaving permanent marks. The story spreads through the special operations community the way all true legends spread. Not through official channels, not through after-action reports or commendations, but through whispered conversations in team rooms, through late-night phone calls between old friends, through the sacred oral tradition of warriors who recognize when they've witnessed something that transcends the ordinary. It becomes known as the silent shot, sometimes the Kane moment, sometimes Blackwood's lesson. At the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, the story has become required curriculum. Master Sergeant Dalton Reeves stands in front of a classroom of 30 students. Young Marines, eager, confident, some too confident. He holds up a small, spiral-bound notebook, worn, edges frayed. This, he says, his Texas accent still thick, but the volume turned down, cost $3 at a gas station, maybe less. The wisdom inside it is priceless. He opens it, shows pages covered in neat, dense handwriting. Wind charts, mirage behavior patterns, temperature coefficients. This belonged to the best shooter I've ever seen, maybe the best shooter anyone's ever seen. This belonged to an Army Sergeant Major who taught me more in 10 minutes than I'd learned in the previous 15 years. He sets the notebook down on the podium, gently, reverently. I was at the top of my game, or so I thought. Custom rifle, $18,000. Every piece of high-speed gear money could buy. And I was good. I knew I was good. Pause. And then I watched a woman with a standard-issue rifle and a piece of yarn for a wind indicator make a shot I just missed. Make it look easy. Make it look inevitable. The students are silent now, listening. I'd spent the morning mocking her, making jokes, playing to an audience, because I saw her gear and assumed I knew everything I needed to know about her capabilities. Dalton's voice goes quiet. I was wrong, profoundly wrong, the kind of wrong that changes you. He picks up the notebook again. She gave me this 6 months ago, after I apologized, after I asked her to teach me what I was missing. She made one small correction to a formula I'd been using. One adjustment, and my accuracy at extreme distance improved 30%. He sets the notebook down again. The most important piece of equipment you'll ever carry isn't your rifle, isn't your scope. He taps his temple. It's this, and the humility to keep filling it with knowledge, from anyone, anywhere, regardless of their rank or their gear, or whether they fit your expectations. At the Naval Special Warfare Center in Coronado, California, another piece of the legend is being preserved. In the main hallway sits a glass display case. Inside it, mounted on custom brackets with museum-quality presentation, is a rifle. M110 SAS Enhanced, semi-automatic sniper system, chambered in .300 Winchester Magnum. The metal shows wear. The stock has scuff marks. It's been used. Hard. A brass plaque beneath it reads, "The Silent Shot, 2,000 meters, Sergeant Major Lyra Kane, USA Fort Irwin, California, June 2024. Below that, in smaller text, loan by CPO Gideon Hale to SGM Kane for one shot. She kept the rifle. He kept his life. A fair trade. 2 young SEAL candidates stand in front of the case. You believe it? One asks. The second candidate studies the rifle, looks at the wear patterns on the stock, the carbon scoring on the barrel. I believe it. 2,000 meters with one shot on a rifle she'd never fired before? The rifle's right there, man. They don't put things in glass cases for bullshit stories. Back at Fort Irwin, where the legend was born, the range has changed. Firing position 23 now has a sign. Simple, understated, metal bolted to a wooden post. Kane's perch, firing position 23. Every sniper who comes through Fort Irwin knows what it means. They seek it out. Take their qualification shots from that exact position. Some bring small tokens, challenge coins, unit patches. Leave them at the base of the sign. On a cold November morning, 1 year after the silent shot, a new class of Army snipers is conducting qualifications. Private First Class Sarah Vega stands behind a rifle at 1,700 meters. 22 years old, from a small town in New Mexico. She's been at the top of her class academically, but on the range, under pressure, she freezes. The instructor, a grizzled Sergeant First Class, kneels beside her. "Vega, you're thinking too hard." She doesn't look at him. "Sergeant, I just need to." "You need to trust your training. Stop trying to be perfect and just execute." "I can't afford to miss, Sergeant. Everyone's watching." The instructor points to the sign. Kane's perch. "You know that name?" Vega nods. "Sergeant Major Kane. Made some kind of legendary shot here. 2,000 meters. One shot. Rifle she'd never fired. In front of 200 of the best shooters in the military. After spending the morning being mocked and dismissed." Pause. Everyone was watching her too. Everyone expected her to fail. The pressure on her was 1,000 times what you're feeling right now. What did she do? She ignored the pressure, ignored the audience, ignored everything external, got into her own headspace, did the work, trusted her training. The instructor stands. "You've got this, Vega. Stop performing for an audience and just shoot." He walks away. Vega takes a breath, looks at the sign, thinks about a sergeant major who refused to let other people's expectations define her performance. She settles behind her rifle, finds her breathing rhythm, reads the wind, calculates the solution, and shoots. The target pings, center mass. She shoots again. Another hit. Again, again, again. 6 targets, 6 hits. When she stands up, the instructor nods. "That's how it's done, Vega. Welcome to the club." Present day, November 2025, 18 months after the silent shot. The Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia stand eternal against a gray autumn sky. At a remote training facility tucked into a valley between 2 peaks, Lyra Kane stands before a class of 25 sniper students, mixed service, Army, Marines, Air Force, even 2 Navy SEALs. Mixed gender, 5 women, 20 men. Mixed experience. What unites them is potential. Lyra stands on a slight rise, overlooking the valley where targets are positioned at ranges from 800 to 1,800 meters. Her M110 SASS, the rifle Gideon gave her, rests on a bipod beside her. "Marksmanship," she begins, her voice carrying in the still mountain air, "is not about the rifle, not about the scope, not about the technology." She picks up the rifle, holds it out. "This is a tool, expensive, well-made, capable, but ultimately just a tool. It has no value without the operator." Sets it down. "The rifle is an extension of your will. The bullet is your message. Your job as a sniper is to deliver that message with absolute clarity." She walks along the line of students, makes eye contact with each one. "Some of you are here because you want to be the best. Some are here because you were told to be here. Some are here because you think it looks cool or sounds impressive." Pause. "I don't care why you're here. I only care about one thing. Are you willing to do the work?" A young male student, cocky, raises his hand. "Sergeant Major, I've been shooting since I was 6, won state competitions. I'm a natural." Lyra stops, looks at him. "What's your name, specialist?" "Thompson, Sergeant Major." "You think you're a natural shooter, Thompson?" Yes, Sergeant Major, I've always had a gift for it. Lyra nods slowly. Interesting perspective. Tell me something, Thompson. Do you think I'm a natural shooter? The student hesitates, senses a trap, but his confidence carries him forward. Based on your reputation, Sergeant Major, I'd say yes. Wrong. The word is flat, final. I'm not a natural anything. I've fired approximately 400,000 rounds in my career. I've spent over 10,000 hours behind a scope. I've logged wind data in 67 different geographic locations. I've failed more shots than you've attempted. She walks closer to him. Natural talent is a myth, a lie people tell themselves to avoid confronting the truth. What truth, Sergeant Major? That excellence is built, not born. That mastery requires suffering. That the difference between good and great is 10,000 hours of deliberate practice when nobody's watching and nobody's applauding. The student looks down, chastened. Lyra's voice softens, slightly. You have potential, Thompson. I can see it. But potential means nothing without work, without humility, without the willingness to be wrong 1,000 times so you can be right when it matters. She addresses the whole class again. Every single one of you will fail during this course. You will miss shots you should make. You will make mistakes. You will have moments where you doubt whether you belong here. Pause. Those moments are where you become a sniper, not on the shots you make, on how you respond to the shots you miss. One of the female students raises her hand, nervous energy radiating from her. Sergeant Major, what if people doubt us? What if they don't think we belong? The question hangs in the air. Lyra looks at her, really looks at her, sees herself at that age, hungry, uncertain, desperate to prove something. She walks over, kneels beside the student. What's your name? Private First Class Martinez, Sergeant Major. Martinez, let me tell you something that took me years to learn. Other people's doubt is not your burden to carry. The student blinks, processing. Your only job is to be so undeniably good at what you do that their doubt becomes irrelevant. Not by arguing, not by defending yourself, but by demonstrating excellence so consistently that reality forces them to change their opinion. Lyra stands, addresses the whole class again. Every one of you will face doubt, from others, from yourselves. The question isn't whether you'll face it. The question is what you'll do when you do. She picks up her rifle again. Let me show you something. She moves to a prone position. The students gather around, watching. Lyra settles behind the rifle. The familiar ritual. Breathing slows. Body relaxes. Mind sharpens. Target at 1,400 meters. Wind left to right. 8 miles per hour. Gusting to 12. Temperature 51 degrees. Humidity 62%. Barometric pressure 29.8. She doesn't use a calculator, doesn't check a chart, just closes her eyes, runs the numbers in her head. Elevation 32 minutes of angle. Wind hold 2 minutes right. She opens her eyes, settles into the scope, finds the target. A 12-inch steel plate barely visible in the gray afternoon light. Breath in, breath out. Natural pause. Trigger press. Crack. 3 seconds later, the distant ring of steel on steel echoes back across the valley. The students erupt in spontaneous applause. Lyra stands, chambers another round, looks at Martinez. Your turn. The young woman's eyes go wide. Sergeant Major, I've never shot past 1,000 meters. Then today you learn. Lyra guides her into position, helps her with body alignment, breathing, scope picture. Same target, same conditions, but I'm not going to give you the solution. You're going to calculate it. Martinez's hands shake slightly. The pressure is immense. Everyone watching. What's the first thing you need to know? Lyra asks quietly. Range to target. Good. What else? Wind speed and direction. Keep going. Martinez talks through the problem, out loud, step by step. Lyra corrects small errors, reinforces correct thinking, guides without taking over. Finally, I think I have it, Sergeant Major. You think or you know? Martinez swallows. I know. Then send it. The young woman settles, breathes. The rifle cracks. Downrange, dust kicks up. 2 feet left of the target. Miss. Martinez starts to apologize. Lyra cuts her off. Don't apologize. Adjust. You know where your round went. You know where the target is. What's your correction? Martinez thinks. 1 minute right. Then make it. The student adjusts, fires again. This time the steel rings. The class erupts. Martinez sits up, eyes wide, disbelief and joy mixing on her face. Lyra smiles. Small, genuine. Welcome to the profession, Martinez. That's how it's done. The afternoon continues. Each student takes a turn. Some hit, some miss. All learn. As the light begins to fade and the class prepares to head back to barracks, one of the older students, a staff sergeant with multiple combat deployments, approaches Lyra. Sergeant Major, can I ask you something? Go ahead, Staff Sergeant. The story about Fort Irwin, the 2,000-meter shot, is it true? Lyra looks at him, considers the question. Why do you want to know? The staff sergeant shifts his weight. Because if it's true, it changes how I think about what's possible, about what can be achieved with discipline and preparation. And if it's not true, then it's still a good story. But stories aren't the same as proof. Lyra nods, respects the honest answer. She walks to her rifle case, opens it. Inside, mounted on the foam lining, is a brass casing, larger than the 7.62 rounds in her current rifle. 300 Winchester Magnum. She hands it to him. This is the casing from that shot. I kept it, not as a trophy, as a reminder. Of what, Sergeant Major? That impossible is just a word, not a limit. When the fundamentals are mastered, when the preparation is complete, when the will is absolute, the word impossible loses its power. The staff sergeant holds the casing carefully, reverently. Can I ask what happened to the rifle? The one you borrowed? Chief Hale gave it to me, said it belonged with the shooter who made it legendary. Where is it now? In a display case in Coronado, where it can inspire the next generation. She takes back the casing, returns it to the case. The shot itself doesn't matter, Staff Sergeant. It was one moment, one bullet. What matters is what it represented, which was that quiet competence will always, eventually, triumph over loud arrogance. That excellence doesn't need to announce itself. That the most valuable weapon isn't the one in your hands. It's the discipline in your mind and the humility in your heart. The staff sergeant stands at attention, renders a salute. Lyra returns it. As the student walks away, Dalton Reeve emerges from the training building. He's been observing the class from inside, taking notes, learning the teaching methodology. He's been at the marksmanship unit for 4 months now, still finding his footing, still adjusting to being a student again instead of the expert. They're responding well to you, he says. They're responding to consistency, structure, someone who gives them honest feedback. Dalton nods. I've been watching how you teach. It's different from how I was taught. How so? Less yelling, more explaining. You treat them like adults who can think instead of robots who need programming. Because that's what they are. The best soldiers are the ones who understand why they're doing something, not just how. They walk together toward the administrative building. The sun is setting behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I talked to General Blackwood yesterday, Dalton says. He's retiring next month. I know, end of an era. He told me something interesting about you. He said you were the finest soldier he'd ever served with. Not the finest sniper, the finest soldier. Said you embodied every value the military claims to hold. Lyra is quiet. He said watching you operate restored his faith in the profession. They walk a few more steps. That's a heavy burden to carry, Dalton. I'm just trying to do my job well. That's exactly what makes it true. They reach the building. Dalton pauses at the door. Thank you, he says. For what? For accepting me here. For being willing to teach me. After how I acted at Fort Irwin, you could have refused. Lyra looks at him, studies his face, sees genuine contrition, genuine desire to grow. Everyone deserves a chance to be better than they were yesterday, Dalton. You're taking that chance seriously. That's all I ask. 3 weeks later, General Thaddeus Blackwood's retirement ceremony takes place at Fort Bragg. The parade ground is filled with hundreds of soldiers, dress uniforms, spit-shine boots, the pageantry of military tradition. Lyra stands in formation with other senior non-commissioned officers, dress blues, all her ribbons and badges on display. The speeches are predictable, tributes to Blackwood's 41 years of service, recitations of his accomplishments. But then Blackwood takes the microphone for his final address. In 4 decades of service, I've met thousands of warriors, rangers, SEALs, special forces, pilots, infantry, every type of soldier you can imagine. Pause. But only a handful truly embody what it means to be a professional, to serve without seeking glory, to excel without demanding recognition, to lead by example rather than by position. He looks directly at the formation where Lyra stands. One of those soldiers is here today. Most of you don't know her name. She prefers it that way, but I know. And I want to take this final opportunity to acknowledge what she represents. Lyra's heart rate increases. She keeps her eyes forward. Sergeant Major Lyra Kane taught me more about leadership in one afternoon than I learned in 4 years at West Point. She reminded me that the strength of our military isn't measured in budget dollars or technology. It's measured in the quiet competence of soldiers who do their jobs perfectly when nobody's watching. He raises his hand, points toward her formation. Sergeant Major Kane, would you please step forward? Every head turns. Lyra hesitates for half a second, then steps out of formation, marches to the center of the parade ground, comes to attention in front of Blackwood. He salutes her. She returns it. Then he does something that shocks everyone present. He removes the 4-star insignia from his shoulder, holds it out to her. This represents 41 years of service. I'm giving it to you not as a gift, but as a symbol. A reminder that true leadership doesn't come from rank, it comes from character. Lyra takes the insignia. Her hands are steady, but her eyes are wet. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep doing what you're doing. Keep teaching. Keep raising the standard. Keep proving that excellence is built, not born. I will, sir. I promise. They stand there for a moment, General and Sergeant Major, mentor and student, 2 professionals who recognize in each other the qualities that make the military great. The formation erupts in applause, genuine, heartfelt, sustained. Blackwood steps back, renders one final salute to Lyra. She returns it, holds it, and in that moment, the circle completes. The sun sets over the Blue Ridge Mountains. The range grows quiet. Students pack their gear and head back to barracks. Lyra remains, alone, looking out over the valley where target stands silent in the fading light. She picks up her rifle, chambers around, not for practice, not for demonstration, just for herself. Finds a target at 1,800 meters, barely visible in the twilight, settles into position. Breathing slows. World narrows. All the noise falls away. There's only the rifle, the target, the wind. The fundamentals never change. Breath in, breath out. Natural pause. Trigger press. Crack. 3 seconds of silence, then the distant ring of steel. Perfect. Lyra stands, clears the rifle, packs her gear. As she walks back toward the building, a young soldier she doesn't recognize approaches. Hesitant, respectful. Sergeant Major Kane? Yes? The soldier extends his hand. In it is a challenge coin, custom made. On one side, the silhouette of a sniper. On the other, 3 words: quiet, competent, deadly. I was at Fort Irwin, the soldier says. 18 months ago, I saw the shot. Changed my life. Changed how I think about what's possible. Lyra takes the coin, studies it. You made this? Had a batch made. Been giving them to shooters I respect. Wanted you to have the first one. Lyra looks at the young soldier, sees the sincerity, the respect. What's your name? Specialist Brennan, Sergeant Major. I'm in Sergeant Reeves' class now, learning to be an instructor. Dalton's teaching you well? Yes, Sergeant Major. He tells us about you, about the lesson he learned, about checking ego at the door and letting the work speak. Lyra nods slowly, holds up the coin. Thank you, Specialist. I'll keep this. It's an honor, Sergeant Major. He salutes. She returns it. He walks away. Lyra stands alone in the gathering darkness, holds the coin, feels its weight. This is the legacy, not the shot, the lesson, not the distance, the principle, not the recognition, the standard. She pockets the coin, picks up her rifle case, heads toward her truck. Tomorrow, there will be more students, more lessons, more opportunities to raise the standard. The work never ends. But for tonight, the work is done. And somewhere, in ranges, in team rooms, and training facilities across the country, the story continues to spread. The silent shot, Kane's perch, the lesson that quiet competence will always, eventually, triumph over loud arrogance. The proof that excellence doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to exist.